All right. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Heromakers Podcast. And Ann, I think I told you about this last time. We were talking about it getting a little bit warmer and the sun is shining. And I have to say, 6 inches of snow has been melted over the past 2 days, and it's glorious. It's glorious. Beautiful, Dion. That's our guest, Dion. See, Dion.
Definitely.
And so I just can't even tell you what this does to my spirit. So you guys will probably notice I'll be a lot happier on the podcast nowadays because we made it through. But Anne, how are you up in Toronto?
I'm good. Yeah, things are good.
Yeah, you're still in lockdown, but I feel like you're coming closer to the end of it, right?
Yeah, they keep extending for a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
And the Canadian-US borders still closed until March 21st.
Oh, is it going to open up on the 21st?
No, they keep extending it month after month. So who knows?
Like I said, you're never letting us in again. But I still do want to go up to Banff at some point. So you guys are going to have to let me in at some point. Yeah.
So I grew up in Calgary. That's where I was born and raised. The foothills of the Rockies. And so Banff was our backyard. We would just go hiking for 8 hours. When we say let's go hiking, we mean 4 hours up to a mountain and 4 hours down.
Yeah.
And bring gear in case you're stranded and actually need to sleep overnight.
Oh man.
In glacier-fed rivers.
Yeah.
And we'd go to Banff to just run around, eat, and be fancy. And then, then we'd go home.
I can't even imagine. That'd be like my dream, Anne. You're like living my dream.
When you go, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna go do we should do a Heromakers, like some kind of retreat.
I think I'll wait at the bottom for you guys.
It's gonna wait.
Yeah.
No, you're coming.
Oh man.
I think you know what I'll do? I'll do the first 15 minutes to kind of make sure you guys start with like momentum, and then the last 15, like it's just.
Dion,
have
you ever taken a bottled water, hiking, seen a fresh spring bubbling up from the ground in the mountains, dumped out your tap water, and filled your water bottle with fresh mountain water?
No, because mountains aren't that common in Chicago.
Anne, are you saying does something happen?
Well, you have to go at the source of the water, bubbling up out of the water, out of the mountain, and then fill up your water bottle and then drink that.
So what she's saying, Dion, is that we're drinking very dirty water down here.
I'm not gonna argue that.
Maybe.
I'm with it. I just feel like if I waited for mountain water, I think I'll kind of be thirsty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm gonna take you up on that as soon as I get the chance. I promise.
I know that we've just met, Dion, but do you trust me to go hiking in the Rocky Mountains with me?
I have to. It's just.
You have to.
Okay.
You have to agree with the first person that ever invites you to do that, and then after that, everybody else will be judged off you. So you have to give me like a great hiking time, because if not, I'm just gonna always say no moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna start planning this, Anne. We're gonna plan our retreat, and then Dion, you're gonna be our first person.
I'm with it. Me and my wife, we've never been to Toronto, so yeah.
Up in Canada, it's amazing. So Dion, we should probably officially welcome you.
Okay.
Dion Dawson, you are in Englewood, which is a south suburb of Chicago. And you started this great initiative called Dion's Chicago Dream, which is multifaceted, but you are basically providing food security for your community. And we want to hear about Englewood because so listeners may not know this, but Chicago, even though we are I live 30 minutes away from Englewood, it is like a totally different neighborhood than where I live. And so I think this is great because we're going to talk about just some of the issues of living in an urban context.
Yes.
And just some of the opportunities for people to serve there as well, which I think is great. So Dion, welcome.
Thank you.
And can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and, growing up in Englewood, a little bit about your childhood?
Gotcha. Well, Dion Dawson, I am the youngest of 4 boys, raised by a single mother on the south side of Chicago. The south side of Chicago, specifically Englewood, is a very, very rough area as a kid to kind of grow up in. I mean, this is the converging of a lot of different things plaguing urban communities, all in one area. So of course you have, a vast majority of the population living below the poverty line. You have sub $20,000 average income for a household. You have food deserts. You have gang violence. You have drugs. You have, one of the highest murder rates in the country. A lot of different things. But I think from that, it kind of raised me, and I always look at it as being something that allowed me to have a high awareness level. You know what I mean? I can see and feel kind of everything that's going on in my life, and I'm not really on autopilot. I kind of notice what's going on. Grew up on the south side of Chicago, born and raised. My mom went through a lot of struggles with substance abuse, me being the youngest, but also having a keen awareness for things. I remember a lot of it. And so it wasn't like I was able to separate them, but I did. And I had an amazing childhood because you adapt. And I still had those moments of playing at school and still having friends, but also, had a lot of different realities that I went through as a kid. Growing up, after graduating high school, I told myself 6 months after high school, if I don't like college, because I stayed in the city, if I don't like that or I'm not doing anything worthwhile, then I'm just going to join the military. Didn't tell anybody because in the military perception and urban neighborhoods is not really one of a respectful nature. It's not like, okay, well, I'm thinking about the military and somebody is, oh, that's a great idea. No, it's, well, are you crazy and you're going to die? Things like that. So I kept it to myself, and I was 9 months outside of leaving, and I didn't tell anybody until about 2 months to go. My mom was upset, and, a lot of different people were, but it was one of the greatest decisions I ever made. I left and went to the Navy. I was a mass communication specialist. So there I learned public relations, communications, both internal and external, photography, journalism, broadcast journalism. And it's one of the pillars of who I am today, because I was able to learn an crazy expensive skill set, but I also was able to still be myself. And that's not something that everybody says when they go in the military. I left the military after 5 years, and I was rated one of the top journalists in the Department of Defense, won a lot of different awards in journalism. I was the top rated Navy journalist, and I came back and it was horrible. I wanted to come back to help my community, but I didn't know how. Me being a Black man leaving the Navy and not choosing a federal position, there was no path for me and my skill set. And, not to mention separation anxiety, dealing with depression, PTSD, all of this. So, my life spiraled pretty fast. And me and my wife separated. I didn't know what being married outside of the military was. And I found myself 2017 separated from my wife, PTSD, separation anxiety, not working, living in my car. And then I found out my mom had kidney cancer. And so that was like my bottom. That was the moment where I just knew that was it. It couldn't get any worse. And when we found out about my mom's diagnosis, I told her that we had to give every single thing that we had to fighting it. And if I wanted to do that, I had to come to terms with everything being horrible, but not allowing it to kind of plague what I was going to do moving forward. And so I had to take everything that happened and really turn the page if I wanted to really focus on that. And from that moment forward, I decided to just build my life back up into something that I wanted it to be. And then it started with fighting kidney cancer with my mom. And every time she looked, if you've ever had anybody in your life who is fighting cancer, when they look to you, they know whether or not you're being upfront with him. You know what I mean? It's a look of, okay, is it real strength? Because if it's fake, they can kind of see right through it. And it won't be a comforting thing. And so we decided to fight that. They removed her kidney and took out some of the cancerous tissue, and she's been cancer free since. 64 years old, still here. She's with me every day as part of the nonprofit. Built back up my marriage, and decided what marriage was for us, which is something that people don't tell you. Is, marriage is about whatever you and your partner decide it is. You know what I mean? And so, being the happiest we've ever been in our lives, being a father and allowing my son to kind of see what's going on day to day. And then from there, just, working different jobs and deciding what I wanted to do and what I was meant to do. And so that kind of bled into right prior to the pandemic starting. I got an overnight job at Amazon to help a few family members pay bills. You know what I mean? So every time I got paid, I would help different family members pay bills. Pandemic hits, and I started working more hours overnight. But I had to be home before a certain time in the morning so that my wife could go to work. So I'm literally like getting off just in the nick of time, and she's going to work, but I'm helping as many of my family members pay their bills. And then as the pandemic is just raging on, because of how I built my life back up, it actually wasn't more difficult. It actually got a little bit easier to see what I was destined to do. And so I remember.
Can I stop you there, Dion?
Please, always stop me.
Okay.
Always stop me.
So because I have so many questions as you're talking.
I'm sorry. Talk to me.
Okay. So I want to can we just quickly like hop back to, okay, so you got out of the military,
Yes.
and then you had mentioned that there was these federal jobs. You chose to go back to Englewood.
Yes.
So I am wondering about that pull back to Englewood. Was that because of was that where your wife wanted to stay? Was that your mom? Was that community? What was it that was pulling you back to this neighborhood?
I wanted to do my part to find another me. I'm in an anomaly in every sense. And so I also know that I wasn't the only one, but I was strong enough and believed in myself enough to always bet on myself, to always not think I'm wrong for being different. And so you have a moment when you're deployed, where you realize kind of what your true motivations are, because it's what your mind drifts to. And for me, I remember like it was yesterday, I was sitting on the flight deck of my aircraft carrier, CVN 75 USS Harry S. Truman, and we're in the middle of the Red Sea, and it's dark everywhere. And I had a panic attack, and it was my first time looking around and seeing nothing. And my mind drifted to Englewood. That's what I thought about. And so it made it clear to me that I can't allow my motivations to be money. I can't allow my motivations to be my mom, my wife. It has to be me and what that is. And I knew that it was me coming back because I always gave back. I always, when I came home, tried to help somebody. I always started GoFundMes. I always did this and did that. And so when it was time to either sign on for more years or stop, it was an easy decision because it never was me being in the military because I loved it. But I also understood that what I did wasn't a waste of time. I was able to serve my country. I was able to do my part, and I also learned an invaluable set of skills and life lessons. And it was at a time when I really was able to kind of stand out on my own. And so when that moment came.
Yeah, well, and I would say it sounds like one of the things that you got there was you as a storyteller, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about journalism and all these different forms, and I have a background in journalism too. So like I understand like the power of being able to tell stories in different forms. And we'll talk about like how you're doing that with your Chicago Dream Center as well, because you are.
Yes.
But talk to us about like being a storyteller in Englewood. Okay. So you mentioned that Englewood has a lot of crime,
Yes.
poverty. So your
Yes.
mom, she was a single mom raising you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so to talk to us about like what it means to be a storyteller in your context.
Um, being a storyteller for me, it all goes back to being authentic. And I think that's why when it comes to our organization and our ability to create this movement around it, I understand. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I understand that the only thing I need to do when it comes to my story is to be as in depth as possible because of everything that I went through. I've been through a, the full spectrum of human emotion throughout my life, and I'm only 31. And that's because I have the ability to not only be aware that I'm in it, but after the fact, be able to convey that to somebody else who has not been in it. And so going through all of that is not as simple as saying, oh well, I experienced hunger. Well, no, I can paint a picture of immediately leaving school and coming home and knowing that behind a room door my mom was abusing drugs, but also loving her enough to not be mad at her, but then also eating croutons for three days straight to survive. And so it's different when it's just saying I felt this, but actually walking through and remembering the pivotal moments that allow people to kind of latch on. Everybody has had a moment of fear. And if you, when you're telling your story, you have to get to that, they have to get to that point where when they feel your fear, they think of their scariest moment. And if that does not happen, then it's not connected. And so I told myself, I said, I'm going to tell this story and I will always be in control of it because I'm responsible enough to do it while being aware of what could go wrong if I just wave a wand and just be divisive and say whatever I want. It's we're in a time where I feel it's popular to be divisive. It's popular to wield your opinion without worrying about the damage of that. How like what you're doing to the people because of it. And so with Englewood, it's easy to talk about a area that's plagued with drugs, plagued with violence, you know, abandoned buildings, food desert, but also we don't think through how we can be innovative in our approach to solving it. And so I said, I just want to be a responsible steward of Englewood. I don't want to just be a person that says, here, we're going through this, because Englewood is resilient, Englewood is strong, and and we adapt. And those are some of the traits that I picked up from Englewood. And so because of that, I have to make sure that my response to whatever problem I want to solve, I have to make sure that I'm bringing those things into the solution.
So Dion, it sounds like when you're saying about being responsible, right? I think, and
Yes.
also I think you mentioned like your powers of observation. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like you actually are fully aware, even when you're a kid, like of
Yes.
you're in school, you're having fun, but at the same time, you have real struggles at home. And then
Yes.
also, like it was interesting when you were on the deck of your air flight carrier that you
Yes.
couldn't see. And that's
Yes.
so interesting. Like I feel like your ability to see things is really powerful. So then um so when you're encountering and being and wanting to be responsible or trying to be responsive maybe to your neighborhood, how does that then prompt you to move? Like what does that how do you then respond to your neighborhood?
I think I start by just first and foremost respecting every part about it. Everything is necessary.
Mhm.
Um, I don't judge. I just try to understand motivations and react accordingly. I think um, everything has a purpose, and you know, there just as much as there is good, there is evil. but evil is necessary to show you the downside of, you know, not focusing on the optimist side of the spectrum. And so I start by just loving and respecting everything and everybody. I don't go down the rabbit hole of saying this person is wrong for this at all in anything that I do. And I hold myself accountable to that, even when I'm not in that moment of directly feeding somebody, or, you know, I hold myself to that standard when I'm at home and when I think about it in my free time, because you're only going to manifest that later down the line. And because we were so low on the totem pole and because we went through so much, it's really easy to relate to these people. It's really easy to see, you know, my mom in the older demographic and myself in the younger demographic. And I would only want somebody to respect my mom no matter what. And so I always be respectful. I would only want someone to see me as a kid and still love me. And so I still love the younger generation, even if they are doing something that's kind of unsavory at the moment. They might sell drugs and make $50 a day, but what if that $50 is feeding their entire family? What if they come home with a bucket of chicken that is directly feeding their younger siblings, and their younger siblings can in turn have a chance to at least grow up and decide what they want to be. And so it just starts out of, I remember the love, I remember the respect, but I keep that hunger of not being heard. I've stood on bus stops of public transportation and hoped somebody I knew would ride by and stop. You know what I mean? And you have these moments of feeling unheard. And that's why with Dion Chicago Dream, you know, I call our network the Dream Team. You know what I mean? And I tell everybody, not just donors, but participants, people who follow us on social media, anybody that I interact with, they're part of the Dream Team, because they should feel like they're heard. When you feel like your voice doesn't matter anymore, that is the worst feeling in the world. When you feel like you don't matter. And I don't want to contribute to anybody feeling like that. And so even if they don't have a donation and they just want to interact and follow and be a part of it, that's what it's about. And that moment and that feeling dictates how I move every single day. Every single day I wake up and I'm loving every part of this, because I tell people, if we're at a beach, you have the people who are running in the water and jumping in. You have the people who are sunbathing. You have the people who are making them a sandwich. And what the Dream Team is we're all the way at the end of the beach and we're just building a sandcastle. We're not bothering anybody. We're just building something beautiful, so that when everybody else looks up, they say, huh, they built this big, beautiful thing.
Dion, that's like amazing. I love this. I love what you stand for. Like, I mean, here on the Heromakers, we are, like, I very strongly believe, Dion, like the most exciting things are happening on the margins of society and in the corners where the world is not looking, right? Like the eyes of the world are on people who are powerful and wealthy, and people who have a high following on social media, and, you know, kind of influencers and that kind of thing. But boy, if you look at the margins and just the creativity and the innovation, kind of like what you are doing, like, I think that's actually where all the action is happening. And I love that analogy of you're building a sandcastle, right? Because
I appreciate it.
Also, too, what that is that something unexpected, right? Like when you're walking along a beach and you're just like, oh, the ocean's beautiful or whatever is beautiful, you're not expecting to see an amazing, huge castle, right? But when you see it kind of takes your breath away, because you're like, somebody put so much effort into creating that thing, and it reminds you of just like the tenacity and the persistence, right? So okay, so let's go back to your.
Hold on, wait. Can I make one point to that though? I think you also have to take it a step further. It's not just that they put that time and energy in this thing. It's the moment you realize that they did it for another person to see it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so sandcastles aren't for the builder to marvel at.
Yeah.
They're built for people to walk past and to interact with that art.
Yeah.
And once you realize that they did it for the next person, that's what makes you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because they expected you to at some point to walk by it and experience what they did.
Yeah, that's really
I would
powerful.
like to jump in too, because the word that was rolling through my head all the time you're talking was the word hospitality.
Yes.
And I think that because of what you have gone through, has made you like that really welcoming, open, loving, non-judgmental person. And I think people know that and feel that. And so as the quintessential host of if you're hosting a party, the host is like providing for his guests or her guests before the guests even realize that they had a need. You know what I mean? Would you like water before they even realize I'm thirsty? You know what I mean? So like I feel like in your building your sandcastle, you're anticipating what people need and you're providing it already, which is amazing.
Appreciate it.
That's good. It has a little bit of a prophetic element to it, right? Or in a visionary element to it.
Yes.
Okay, so Dion, okay, so you were working for Amazon and providing for your family, and then you had you kind of realized this is your mission, whatever. Okay, so tell us how the Dion's Chicago dream came about.
So
and this was last summer, right?
Yes. Okay. Yep. It was Juneteenth, and this past year it was a big deal about what we would make of Juneteenth. And I just wanted to initially just do my part. I just wanted to look back, and in this tumultuous year and during a raging pandemic, I wanted to say that I did my part. And so I started a GoFundMe, and in 36 hours, we raised $2,500. And from there, I decided, hey, we're going to feed 100 families. I'm not going to lie to you. I really don't say the word try almost ever anymore, because we're just going to do it. And so we bought over 800 pounds of food, fed more 96, 97 families that day. And it was so stressful, but it meant the world to me. And I had a blast. And after that day, I was approached by somebody who wanted to, fund us as if we were a nonprofit. And they said, hey, we would like to give you a check for $30,000. And I couldn't take it because we weren't legal. And I just told myself, I said, this is that fork in the road moment. I knew it. And I had to decide, hey, what are you going to do? And I knew my network was a little tight because of everything that's going on and how much it takes to fully legalize a nonprofit. And I said, to hell with it. And I jumped right in, and I started another GoFundMe, and we raised $2,200 in 6 days. And we started the legalization process. And as of August 10th, we were incorporated, Dion Chicago Dream, and we are federally recognized 501c3. And for me, I just told my wife one day, I said, I'm never going to work for anybody else again. And it's okay, because people think that marriage is this kumbaya thing of, we both look and feel the same way all the time. And initially when we started off, I thought that, but then it was okay, because I also had to realize that my wife is the direct opposite of me. I'm the dreamer, she's the realist, but it works. And she kind of looked at me, and she didn't say, oh, you're crazy or anything like that, but she kind of looked at me like, oh, okay. And so I just took that as a challenge of, I'm going to show her what I mean by it. Because for me, I've always been a home run hitter. I've always, it's two types of people. And when it comes to how do I say this? There's two types of people when it comes to skills. It's the naturally gifted, and it's the hard workers. And the ultimate goal is to pick up the things you're not naturally gifted in. And so for me, I was always good at the home run, but I wasn't consistent. I wasn't the every day I give my all person. And what this nonprofit is a direct result of me working every single day for 8 months straight. And that is why we've been able to jump out the gate and tackle the things that we want to tackle, but the way that we want to do it. Because I think everybody, when it comes to nonprofit and philanthropy, we don't bring ourselves in it anymore. We just kind of find a template and we just work with that template. And I said, if you look at society as a whole, the government is the last to transition, of course, because of laws. And that's why we don't have a lot of oversight over technology, because it came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And so they're adjusting. But in the nonprofit sector, I just said, okay, well, we're going to do this, but we're going to control the way we do it. We're going to tell our story, but we're going to work hard every single day. And we're going to make sure that we keep people in the forefront, and we're going to love people. And we're going to show people that we love people. Yeah. And we're going to set a standard that a lot of other organizations can't catch us in. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
So Dion, the phrase that I keep thinking of as you're talking is go big or go home, right? Yes. Like that. And yeah. So what you're saying is like, okay, so you're the home run hitter, right? You're like, okay, let's just go. Yes. But what I also hear is like, okay, you called this thing Dion Chicago Dream, right? Yes. So that the whole idea of the dream and dreaming, but then you're talking about hard work. So yes. I'm wondering about that kind of the balance or the integration of hard work and dreaming, because I think sometimes we have a couple types of people, right? We have people who are the visionaries who are like, let's do this, go. But and then when things get hard, they're like, okay, done, on to the next. And then you have other people who are just, they're kind of consistent. Let's just, but maybe not the dreamers. And right. You're pulling in both components. So I'm wondering like how those two work together. And if you can encourage people who have like a big dream to help other people, like encourage them just to keep going, even when things are tiring or just monotonous.
Yes, I think the beautiful thing about that is that there's a yin and yang that is needed from both sides. So of course, with a dreamer, you have the ability to look past where you are and want to go for it. And then you have the consistent person who's built this thing, that they're doing every day, and they don't want to jeopardize that consistency. I knew this would work because as I'm dreaming, I want to maintain the uniqueness of our work. But when people approach us and approach this thing as if it's not possible, it does not deter me. It makes me want it more. And so in this line of work, if it's not illegal and it's not morally wrong, you can't tell me I can't do it. And so it's challenging those deterrents that have been put in the process for no reason, because people do it because they see that person do it and that organization do it. And if I wanted to encourage anybody, I would just tell them to find their voice and believe it, because the things that I'm doing, my team, that we're doing as a movement, we don't ask ourselves at any point in the day if it's possible. That if we thought it, then it's possible. You have to believe that. You have to believe that if you can dream it, then there's something about it that can be tangible. And so I don't operate in that sense of, I don't know if I can do it. I just believe and love myself enough and love the people that surround me and love my community enough to where if there is a need, I want to be flexible enough to directly address that need. And I think we pigeonhole ourselves so much, especially as nonprofit organizations, that when the need shifts or evolves, there's no room to shift with it. So if it was this type of hunger, but it morphed into this, well, all of our funds are allocated for this, so we're screwed. But we'll try to give resource. That's the word, it pains me, resources. I hate it because it becomes this it's ambiguity and cloudiness involved when they say resources. No, people are hungry. They need food. We're going to give them quality food, because in Englewood, quality should not be dictated by immediacy. And that's what we're addressing.
So you're addressing food poverty? Is that what you're addressing, or can you explain?
We're addressing food insecurity. Is having the option of having healthy options. We have no healthy options in Englewood. We have no supermarkets, but we have liquor stores every 3 or 4 blocks. Wow. The store that our dream fridge is right outside of is a liquor store. But also, I understand that their generosity in giving me free electricity allowed my dream to become a reality. And so it's a duality that's okay, because out of a liquor store being there, they were just open-minded enough to allow me and my organization to get our footing. And so what started off as us seeing people hungry, the fridge is filled with free fruits and vegetables every day. And, there's this big mutual aid movement right now of, open community fridges. Well, we're not going to open a community fridge that we're not filling, because if you have an environment that more than 80% of the residents are under the poverty line, if we open up a fridge, it's going to be empty. They barely have food to feed themselves. And so I told my team, we're going to fill it every day. And we've done it every day since September 11th, 2020. And every piece of fruit, every piece of every vegetable has been brand new. And then it got to this point of, okay, well, let's offer them, fruits and vegetables right as they're turning bad, or, when stores don't want it anymore, or a regular looking fruits and vegetables. And it I don't like that, because it changes what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, well, I was going to say, it reminds me of, I used to work in a bakery, Dion, and it, we would have like the half price shelf that people would come in and get the day or two old pies and stuff. And it wasn't the same, right, as going in and getting a freshly made pie. But Dion, what else is in your big dream, right? So you talk about providing this fresh fruit, fresh foods. And then what else is there? Because I think I had read something about you wanting to open like a community center. And what other kind of things are you doing through your Chicago?
So, all right. So the big thing, first and foremost, that brought us together is the Dream Center. What the Dream Center is I wouldn't say community center, because I feel like that's too traditional to wrap our minds around. That's just what when it comes to nonprofit and a location, community center. No, it's a hub that we own, which is important, is ownership. It's a hub that will be unique in what the offering is. Because we own it, we dictate what it offers the public. Instead of a fridge in the lobby, you're going to walk in and there's going to be a produce section, a banana stand, a strawberry pit, just like when you go into your grocery store. We're going to have a fully stocked photo studio for budding photographers to build up their portfolio. We're going to have a fully Cisco integrated suite, so that if you need business meetings or things like that, you can come there for pennies on the dollar and do it. It's a creative space, and that's where all of the big, not only tech companies started it, but everybody's doing it. They want this frenetic, strong energy and intellect in one area so that they can monetize it. And so what I'm doing is just responding to where society is right now. I can't even say headed, because it's actually where society is right now, but there's none of that in Englewood. And if there is potential to be, it's not owned by a resident. It's not owned by a local organization, and that's a problem, because that means that organization or the owner will always dictate what goes into it. And that's what the Dream Center is. A dream is not simply a thing. We have all types of dreams and all types of desires. But the Dream Center is something that will evolve and grow as the community around it does. And for me, the ownership of it and the simplicity of responding to the needs of the community is what's driving me to make sure that, okay, I'm going to lead this because I want to show people that it's not hard to do this. It's not hard.
So Dion, do you have a location picked out already?
Had one and somebody outbid us. So right now we don't have a location, but it doesn't stop our impact. Your impact should always be in front of your imprint anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah. Do you have a like a time frame for when you'd like to get something up and running, or no?
How do I say this? I mean, tomorrow.
Not soon enough, right?
Yeah, I'm the way that we built this out. And also, by the way, after we tried for a location and we didn't get it, we actually just launched Dream Deliveries 3 weeks ago. And what Dream Deliveries is basically a weekly produce service that we deliver a 10 to 15 pound box of premium fresh fruits and vegetables directly to residents every Friday. And we started off at 30 homes every Friday. We're officially scaling up to 60 homes every Friday. And I won't stop until we're at every house in Englewood, which is about maybe 3,000 to 4,000 homes. So got a lot of fun. Yeah,
what a fun job, right? What a fun job, because you deliver and then you probably get to know all the people too, and you're building relationships. And
oh yeah, we canvas in advance. I know it's going to be. See, what we do is we have our produce comes from a premium grocer, a premium wholesaler. So everything that we offer is straight from farmer grocer to the household. So it's completely fresh, completely premium line of produce. But we canvas the neighborhoods in advance. So you can't just go in and sign up. No, we just go door to door. We already meet everybody because we tell them that we're going to do it, and we do it.
Your job is like my extroversion dream right now. Going out and helping people and delivering food and building relationships, and I mean, just amazing. So Dion, just tell people, like, how can we support you and what you're doing?
So I tell people it's just like the Red Cross, anybody else. If you go to www.dionchicagodream.com and just sign up for a monthly recurring fee, 5, 10, 20, whatever, it goes directly into stabilizing operations. And the good thing about it is that once you look at us, our website, our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you'll see what we're doing because we hold ourselves accountable. It's about being transparent in our operations and making sure that we're bringing that quality to our people. And for me, that's what it's about.
And I'll say what I've noticed too, when people do hop on your website, which we'll link to in the show notes, that you have incredible stories of impact on there as well. So you really do give a great job of kind of putting a face to what you're doing, which is, I think, critical for this kind of work. So Dion, this has been an amazing conversation, and I know it's really encouraged me as well, like to dream big and go for it and work hard. I mean, I think that's a good takeaway too, is, like, what's going on in your community that you can just kind of keep pressing into and keep at it. Like, don't give up. Even if it's something, like what you're doing is you're trailblazing in your community right now, and you're doing something that hasn't been done, but you keep at it, right? Because this is your dream. So, and I'm really excited because you also have your background in journalism, and it just goes to show that, like, when we look at kind of the whole of who we are, like, all of those pieces can somehow work together, right? So Dion, thanks for being on the Heromakers podcast with us. It's been a joy. And thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the podcast. We hope you loved it. Please share it with your friends, give us a 5-star rating, and we'll see you guys next time.